In typical Third Eye Global fashion, we are continuing down the dark rabbit hole that is Palantir, JD Vance, and Peter Thiel. There's a clip by Nick Fuentes basically going over the origin story of JD Vance.
JD Vance was created by the fortune created by Palantir. He was groomed, he was appointed, he was selected, he was elevated by Peter Thiel, and the fortune that funds Peter Thiel, which was created by Palantir.
Following the explosive news drop of Trump tapping Palantir to, quote, create a master database on every American, Nick Fuentes goes to bat to highlight the questionable ties JD Vance has to Palantir's founder, Peter Thiel.
For context, you got Curtis Yarvin, Dark Enlightenment, ideology, and philosophy with the Cathedral, who has influenced Silicon Valley. The techno-feudal oligarchs, who I believe hold most of the power in U.S. politics.
More accurately, Nick describes JD Vance as a creation of Peter Thiel. Here's the clip.
It's not even fair to say he's a protege. JD Vance is a creation of Peter Thiel. JD Vance was a photographer, a journalist in the Marines, went to Yale Law School. It was Peter Thiel that set up JD Vance with his first job in Silicon Valley. It was Peter Thiel who set up JD Vance with his first job in venture capital.
Why is this important? Well, post 9/11, I think, is where things actually took a turn towards what we're currently experiencing, where America was never going to be surprised or made a fool by another country on the world stage. How do you do that? Well, you create a big brother mass surveillance state with the illusion of freedom. Obviously, we had Edward Snowden whistleblow some details about the NSA, the idea that America is spying on its own people. I mean, you can't even say words without being sent ads, meaning devices are listening to you. Everything that you do, including your movements, your search queries, are tracked. Some would argue that it's impossible to have a successful, westernized society without a 1984 Big Brother state. Whether you agree with that or not, it's irrelevant because we're already living in a time where every single thing we do is recorded, written down, and stored on a server somewhere. Now, there exists companies that can synthesize that data and weaponize it at any given point in time, aka Palantir, which is a essentially amalgamation of tech bros and AI models and code that scrapes every single piece of information to then predict and strategize anything they want.
At Peter Thiel's venture capital fund. It was Peter Thiel who got JD Vance another job at another venture capital firm. It was Peter Thiel who funded JD Vance's venture capital fund.
People call this Thiel bucks. It's the reoccurring theme that Peter Thiel will just throw millions of dollars at projects that he finds politically fascinating, that fit his agenda. And there are people that literally grift in this sector of the internet, or the techno right, that is pro-accelerationist singularity, just to get a taste of those Thiel bucks. For example, the Red Scare podcast, people joke about how Peter Thiel funded them, or JD Vance.
It was Peter Thiel who encouraged JD Vance to write Hillbilly Elegy and promoted him and got him an audience at the Aspen Institute and other international organizations. It was Peter Thiel who brokered a truce between Donald Trump and JD Vance after JD Vance was a never-Trumper for years.
And if you really want to get schizo with it, This will actualize in 2028 when JD Vance becomes president. I've said it in the past, I'll say it again. That is the ultimate goal. That is the dark enlightenment ethos. It's to get JD Vance into the White House. And he's already there. He's in line to inherit the throne that is Trumpism. So for the next 4 years, Vance's job is to absorb the aura and take the remnants of Trump to then instill this agenda.
And then sought Trump's endorsement in the Ohio Senate primary in 2022. It was Peter Thiel who gave $15 million to JD Vance's PAC when he ran for Senate, the most money ever given by an outside group in a U.S. Senate race at that time. And it was Peter Thiel and Elon Musk and Tucker Carlson who called Donald Trump in July 2024 and encouraged Trump to choose JD Vance as his running mate. JD Vance.
We haven't even gone down the Tucker Carlson CIA rabbit hole yet. Perhaps that will be next.
Was created by the fortune created by Palantir. He was groomed, he was appointed, he was selected, he was elevated by Peter Thiel, and the fortune that funds Peter Thiel, which was created by Palantir. This is now the Vice President of the United States. And this is who all of the conservative surrogates are now trying to astroturf for the 2028 presidential nomination.
I told you.
They are trying to seed the ground for a JD Vance presidential run, a plan that has been in the works for probably over 10 years. All these people on Twitter saying JD Vance might be better than Trump. I like JD Vance. He's the real deal.
This sounds like a crackhead rambling on a street corner, but I'm so serious that this is really happening.
He's got authenticity. You can't fake that. All these people endlessly promoting JD Vance after his debate performance, after he was nominated, defending him from the credible allegations that he's weird. All these people endlessly shilling for Vance.
It's the liquidation of democracy, the Constitution, and the rule of law. And the eventual transfer to power to a CEO-in-chief. Yep. So one of the main tenets of dark enlightenment political philosophy, or the NRX, is that America should be run like a business. Government bureaucracy needs to die, and democracy is an illusion. They replace it with their idea of a monarchy or a god emperor, if I'm being hyperbolic, and they believe that to be JD Vance. Now, this is some Bene Gesserit witchcraft where they're trying to find the chosen one. It's stepping on the gas of the CIA and intelligence communities having the true power. Because if you can't beat them, you might as well be them or join them. Now, I bring up an interesting point. Who's really there to rein in the CIA? Well, when JFK tried to do it, something happened to him. There has only been a few points in history when any ground has actually been covered. If you want to know what the true power dynamic is, it's intelligence communities running the world. Why do I think that? Well, you ever notice how they can declassify anything and everything? And what used to be conspiracy just turns out to be true? Like the fact that MK Ultra or the CIA was literally dosing people with LSD and watching them bang hookers through a fucking peephole in Operation Midnight. See, these documents can be declassified, but nobody ever talks about them because nobody does anything about it because there's nothing to do. Who was behind it? Well, they're all dead or ghosts. The people in the CIA are not elected by the people. They're dynastically elevated. Deep ties to the origins of these communities in the first place.
Are a part of this conspiracy because they, like Vance, are being paid by Peter Thiel. Barry Weiss, funded by Mark Andreessen and Peter Thiel.
So Barry Weiss was the founder of the Free Press, which is currently being evaluated and bought for over $250 million. Now, the Free Press has a YouTube channel of about 300,000 subscribers, okay? And by that logic, we would be bought out for $750 million. It's essentially a blog that can be used to provide propaganda to the masses. It is not a booming news outlet by any stretch of the means. It's rather fringe and small. But why is so much money being thrown at it? Well, it begs the question. Obviously, they are attracted to the idea of taking over that fan base and indoctrinating them with whatever they want.
Bronze Age Pervert, funded by Peter Thiel.
Bronze Age Pervert wrote Bronze Age Mindset. He is a popular, they call him BAP, Bronze Age Mantist. We reference some of his jokes all the time, like the Longhouse, the Bugman.
Curtis Yarvin, Raw Egg Nationalist, Passage Press. Lomez, Jonathan Keeperman, funded by Peter.
These are all people on the right on Twitter or X. Bitcoin allowed in 401k, that's huge.
Thiel. Dime Square, Red Scare, funded by Peter Thiel.
I mean, what did I say, chat? I'm in the trenches. I know my shit, chat.
The Art Hose, the parties in Manhattan, the scene in Austin.
Funded by Peter Thiel. He's right. You see, in terms of optics, there was a market that emerged in that politics was inherently stuffy, right? You had these career politicians with no aura. Trump came in, completely shattered the status quo in the meta. But aesthetically speaking, there was no real draw for new people to get involved into the political scene, which is essentially what you have is a political rebranding or this new right that is so attractive to many young people. If you guys remember, there were news articles about how cool the new right is, and they showed pictures of them partying and drinking in Manhattan. They were wearing their red hats. This was when Trump was getting elected.
The seasteading, the mission to create a city-state in the Mediterranean, the Urbit conferences.
Urbit is Curtis Yarvin's rendition of what he believes to be the best internet, but it never really got off the ground. But it is funded by Peter Thiel. What do I think about Bitcoin being part of the 401k? I think it's good for Bitcoin itself as a brand, but I think it's antithetical to the tech. I think it's similar with the idea of people buying shares of Bitcoin. What was that? Where they're bundled? The Bitcoin ETF. It's putting Bitcoin in front of more people's eyes, but it seems like they're not doing their due diligence to actually just buy it themselves and put it on their own wallet and have self-agency over it.
In Europe, all funded by Peter Thiel, just like Vance. All funded by Peter Thiel through the CIA, through the FBI, through the CDC, through Israeli intelligence.
Now, the reason why people always bring up Mossad or Israeli intelligence in conjunction with the CIA or FBI and American intelligence is because Israel exists as a satellite state for Western powers, mainly the US and the UK. I mean, that's how it was literally founded. It gives us, or it gives America and Britain standing in that area, destabilizes it completely, whether they want oil, whether they want to justify heinous acts of control. But at a certain level, the top intelligence agencies are inherently intermingled. They're one and the same.
This is the takeover.
This is far from the first time Nick has been critical of Vance. From the moment it became clear JD would be the likely VP pick.
That's right. It's good for awareness for the midwits, because there's a lot of them.
Nick had this to say: if JD Vance has been chosen for VP, then Trump has truly learned nothing from his first term. How could Trump choose a former never-Trumper who didn't even vote for him in 2016?
So if you guys remember, JD Vance was very critical of Donald Trump. Used to call him an idiot or whatever it was. I don't quite remember. But he was on the record in interviews disavowing Trump, and then he switched up rather quickly. Now, I think that happened to a lot of people because of how cataclysmically bad the left ran Kamala and Walz. They absolutely fumbled everything. However, if you learn to understand the greater scheme at play here, you can see how the switch up makes sense. Because if JD Vance is to be president, then he has to make nice now.
To replace Pence after everything that has happened since J6. Unconscionable. Even critical of his military service, which he discussed here with Alex Jones.
So you don't like Vance? I think Vance is awesome.
Oh, I think he's terrible. I don't. First of all, I think he's fake. Everything about him is fake. His name's fake. His venture capital career's
That is true. His name is fake. His name is not JD Vance.
fake. His story's fake. He's a fake Marine. He's a fake populist.
A fake Marine?
He did press releases. He wrote press releases, news releases.
Well, I mean, he was over in Iraq. He never said he was a war hero.
Oh, he wasn't in combat, but he makes.
But he's not like Senator Blumenthal that was never out of the country and said he was in combat in Vietnam. He ran the Toys for Tots program at the Senate. I mean, hold on. I know Vance. I followed him. He's always said, "Well, I was just over there in the press. I'm not like the real heroes." But he was in Iraq.
But he's over there the other week doing a photo shoot where he's shooting guns, hoorah, acting like he's some kind of combatant. He was a journalist in the Marines, which is what they do. This is what these people do.
Well, hold on a minute. So if you go out and shoot guns, you're being a poser now? I mean, if you're...
I think he's a serious poser, yeah. I think he's trying to make it seem like he's some kind of, yeah, absolutely.
So he's like Tampon Tim, think you put shotguns in the back of the shotgun?
I think so, yeah. I think that's...
I don't think that's fair.
Well...
He's never said he was in a combat Marine.
He might not have said that, but I think that's sort of the... Do people know that he was writing press releases, or do they...
People don't know that. They think he... Now, I'm not one to, I guess, stratify your military service. He served in the Marine Corps, but I guess the optics of him being like a hoorah Marine is I can see being a bit disingenuous if you were never that.
I think that he's some kind of a Marine, that he was doing missions, or so. I think he's creating the perception that he's out there fighting bad guys or something. He was writing press releases.
No, I mean, I think DHS had Gnome as Commando Barbie, but I think she's doing a good job.
Well, she does the same thing. They wear the uniform, they shoot the guns. Hoorah, it's a Marine.
It's like saying you won the Super Bowl when you were a water boy.
Vice president. Not to mention his name is fake. He's a venture capitalist, but he was a no.
I mean, his name's fake. He took his family name.
Hamill, Bowman, Vance. He changed his name 3 times.
That's all 100% true.
His name to coincide with the release of his book. And the book, by the way, he wrote the book under the tutelage of David Frum, neocon, speechwriter for George Bush. And
I think he did a great job in the debates. I think he's great.
He did good in the debate. He's good at talking. I'll give him that, but I don't trust him. I think he's a fake.
Problem is, I think JD Vance is hyper intelligent, and I think he's excellent at communicating and debating, which makes him a formidable force in politics.
We got to go to break. Stay right there. We got a whole nother hour.
A swift Google search backs up Nick's claims of Vance being funded by Thiel, with the timeline beginning in 2011 where, quote, the senator met Thiel following a talk the venture capitalist gave at Yale.
I think he's a pencil-neck dork-ass muncher who stands for nothing and falls for anything. A lot of people do believe that, too.
Law school that Vance has characterized.
How is it possible to change your last name? That's a great question. Well, Mark Cuban's last name is not Cuban. A lot of people do it. There is such thing as a legal name change. Why do people do it is the more interesting question.
As the most significant moment of my time. 4 years later, Forbes writes, Thiel later became a pretty good mentor to Vance, according to the Washington Post, with Vance making the switch to venture capital and joining the Thiel co-founded Mithril Capital in 2015. Speeding along to 2019, where Vance launched his own venture capital firm, Naraya Capital, that once again received financial backing from Thiel. Then the jump to politics begins, with Peter Thiel being the one to introduce Vance to Trump in 2021 at Mar-a-Lago, which was done to smooth over their relationship, as Vance at this point was a bitter critic of Trump, publicly calling him an idiot and in private comparing him to Hitler. It was after this meeting that Trump then endorsed JD Vance for his 2022 run, which once again was backed by Peter Thiel, this time donating $15 million to his campaign, which marked the largest amount of money donated to a single Senate candidate ever.
I mean, it's all right there, chat. It's deep in the trenches, but the information is out there.
The conflict of interest is...
What's the angle here? Haven't you been paying attention? We're talking dark enlightenment, techno-feudal accelerationism. If you can't beat them, join them. I'm talking Big Brother state, singularity as the end game. The abandonment and dissolution of democracy as we know it. Installing a god emperor monarch known as JD Vance. I mean, come on, dude. This is level 1 of my dungeon.
Is laid clear here, as Palantir is winning contracts from the Department of Defense to the tune of $795 million, on top of the 113.
It's turning America into a well-oiled machine of optimization, business, and lethal warfare / intelligence, the likes of which and the heights of which we've never quite seen before. You think Lockheed Martin is working on a new jet? Just wait until Anduril and Palantir collab. The B-2 is going to look like a fucking dinosaur.
Million they have already secured under Trump's presidency alone. And it just so happens that the suspected frontrunner for the Republican Party in 2028 is Buddy Buddy.
Who do I think the last grassroots primary candidate was? Does Teddy Roosevelt count?
With the founder of a company named after the Seeing Stone from the Lord of the Rings.
AKA Palantir. And I'm pretty sure mithril is an ore, like a mythical ore. Let's look that up too. Yeah, Tolkien. Strong, lightweight, valuable, silvery metal. It's in World of Warcraft, but of course it's laced with esotericism because these people get off on it. Mithril capital. Palantir.
That has also publicly expressed interest in building a national database on Americans. While I won't be covering even a fraction of the history of Palantir and Thiel, what I will show you is Alex Karp's co-founder of Palantir, bragging about...
We know who this guy is. If you've been watching Third Eye Global for the past couple weeks.
Their systems being used to crush political dissent in Europe. Here's the clip.
Look, we built PG, which single-handedly stopped the rise of the far right in Europe. We built Foundry, which was used to distribute the COVID vaccine and saved.
To summarize, if this is the TLDR, which at Third Eye Global we don't even believe in because you're either with the shits or you're not, right? Too long didn't read, wasn't paying attention in class. You have a bunch of Silicon Valley elites building a superintelligence known as Palantir, which is going to be a deity used in conjunction with intelligence agencies to warp public perception, execute military operations with surgical accuracy and precision, with zero recourse. There will be no errors.
millions of lives globally. We built what we call multi-constellation, and what's often called the digital kill chain. And they're category-defining products. So when you deliver these products to the market, just...
So the idea of the Founding Fathers, what's more important, right? Security or freedom? The answer that is being actualized is security at the expense of freedom, aka the illusion thereof.
Honestly, people say this isn't going to exist, this isn't valuable, but then it changes the market. And then the market is the Palantir market. Now, that doesn't mean everyone in the world's going to buy our product, but it means most of the sensible people in the world...
He looks like he got electrocuted, because he probably did.
...are going to buy...
This guy looks like he got zapped with 100,000 volts.
...the category we define.
Laura Loomer had a response to this, highlighting the obvious fear by posting, "What exactly is far right?
You see, but when you have people like Alex Karp saying we stomped out the far right, that's not freedom of speech or expression or anything like that. Because when you're policing these things, this expression, whether you like it or not, you're playing God. Like we're witnessing the crumbling of the very fabric that is America. They're pissing on George W.'s grave.
Jewish woman who believes in nationalism, free speech, and closed borders, and that was enough to get me designated as a far-right domestic terrorist by big tech in the crooked FBI. The term far-right is used by global elites to oppress us. Put simply, is the plausible reality in which this technology is used to suppress any and all dissenters. With all of that being said, there does appear to be some optimism, as many other MAGA and MAGA-adjacent talking heads have also rejected this dystopian parallel to George Orwell's 1984, or maybe more accurate, Minority Report.
The reason why people talk about Minority Report in relation to Palantir is because part of their LLM, or their essential black box of information, is that they are running tests for predicting crime before it happens based on your intel that you provided, your data set. Meaning if you're somebody who has robbed little old women crossing the street, well, Palantir comes in and says, you're about to do that. Again, you're 73% more likely to do that than if you weren't. And if you run the world like that, bucko, you have no freedom at all.
With the way that Alex Karp and Thiel speak about pre-crime. But I think this highlights a more underlying and less partisan challenge. One that...
Don't they already do this, though? Yes. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, this is here. This is already happening.
Was also present during Zuckerberg's testimony before the Senate. Technology is advancing so rapidly that the older generations are increasingly becoming less familiar with it. And when the average age of your congressperson or judge is over 50 to 60 years old, it's much less likely they understand the ins and outs of it, which if these are the individuals expected to legislate on it and adjudicate regulation around it, how can they be expected to do so if they cannot even understand it? While no legal challenges may be present now, I do suspect with the advancement of AI software similar to Palantir, as well as AI video generation, we are going to be in a wild...
This guy's got a buttery smooth voice, so much so that I thought he was AI at first.
West era where producers will be able to get away with a lot before the law catches up with them. With that being said, let me know what you guys think. Again, I know I didn't cover much history of Palantir and Thiel, but I might probably save that for a later project alongside covering Project Esther. But if you did make it this far, make sure you smash the like button. It helps my channel tremendously, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care.
What a bunch of truth nukes. I think I just actually one-shot a couple of you viewers out there. We must stay focused, though. Never black pill. You gotta stay optimistic.